So a lot of people come to the CHR because they're really struggling with their relationship with food and really struggling in how to manage overeating. So do you have any professional tips here that you could provide those members?
I think it's important, first of all, as I said, to acknowledge and notice what's happening. So managing overeating is something that I come across throughout my work. And we have to sometimes have an honest conversation with ourselves and identify the triggers. Some of the triggers that can lead to us overeating can sometimes be due to emotional stress. So sometimes of those negative thoughts and those feelings that come up, that emotional distress makes us actually wants us to sometimes overeat. At times it could be restriction, where we don't eat for a very long period of time. And that's quite key, because if you're starving yourself, your energy levels start to get depleted and your metabolic rate also reduces. And as a result, you're going to probably be wanting to kind of overeat in one sitting, a large quantity, and you're going to feel quite out of control and quite distressed. Other factors that also lead to overeating is alcohol. Some people, when they drink a lot of alcohol, they can lead to eating a lot more. And also availability of food. Now, if you've got food hanging around in different places, maybe in the kitchen, it's so easy to pick at things and graze on those things. So it's important to have maybe like a regular meal plan in place.
Yeah. Do you know what? So this speaks to the framework that we work within the CHR is the physical, physiological, and psychological. And I think you've just hit every part of that. And I'm just thinking about availability of food now. When I've gone through competition preps and diets before, which were quite extreme for the body, and you do get to that point where actually you just want to eat everything and anything, and if it's in front of you, you're going to go for it. And you've got to, I think when you're in a competition state and you're in that physical state of mind where you're going to say, I'm going to win that trophy and I'm going to do everything it possibly takes. When you're outside of that, when the motivation, the extrinsic motivator has dropped off, it's very easy to kind of go all in. And I've seen availability of food is definitely one of those drivers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Availability of food ties in with the restriction. So if you've got long gaps in between your food and you're not eating regularly, that's going to actually make you feel really hungry, and as a result you're going to probably more likely to overeat. So it's so important that you eat regularly to increase your metabolic rate and build on that appetite and build on your hunger cues. Get your body into a rhythm of eating and building up an appetite and getting hungry.
Unfortunately, one of the most common practices for dieting and losing weight and losing fat quick is intermittent fasting. And I think again you've kind of spoken to that there, where people are restricting foods for a long period of time, and then suddenly they have this window of eating. It can be kind of difficult for them to then manage the level of hunger that they're experiencing. They go into that shop, they go into even their office drawer, they go into the car and they see some sweets and snacks in the glove compartment. So how would you manage that? I mean, we've talked there, actually we could change the physiology of this. We can start to make sure we're nourishing ourselves. I think from our perspective, we're telling people to eat more protein. That's going to help you feel more satiated. Eat more fruits, eat more vegetables, and eat real foods again. So how would you manage that relationship that you might have with food at this point?
Well, one of the key words that you said, Juggy, was dieting. Dieting often leads to us developing certain rules, which is can sometimes be taken a bit too far, such as taking out carbs completely or taking out fats completely. And that's really important. Carbohydrates, fats, protein, minerals, vitamins, all these things are so essential for a balanced gut, for a balanced body and mind. So it's important that you try not to restrict on any food groups, that you have a large variety of foods, and you try to allow yourself to eat in good quantities. So just think about having 3 solid meals every day with 3 probably snacks in between every 3 hours apart. Just base it on the timing, and the timing will kind of help you be your backbone.
Okay, this is awesome.
And also I think it's really important to actually have a meal plan. Sometimes when we feel as though that, life gets in the way, sometimes we're taking care of kids or we got work to do and we got like a big presentation, we can sometimes let the lunch or the dinner slip away, and that's going to lead us to restrict and then overeat later on. So it's important that having a meal plan in place can highlight those ways that you can maybe identify those risks in that day and curb off those risky behaviors of overeating.
let's touch upon meal plan a little bit more, because
Yeah.
one of the things that we say is, from a meal plan perspective, and we've seen members come to us and they've eaten the same foods for up to 2 to 3 years, and it's really restrictive. So they see that meal plan as the be all and end all, and if they're off that meal plan, they'll put loads of weight on, they feel unhealthy again, and it becomes almost obsessive at that point. So one of the things that we're recommending is, yes, a meal plan, but almost structure only 24 hours in advance, as opposed to saying every single day I'm going to eat X, Y, Z. Is that what you mean by meal planning?
Absolutely. It needs to be flexible. It can't be rigid. The rigidity is not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to allow you to have that varied diet and allow yourself to have a variety of foods. And we're talking about fun foods as well. We're talking about chocolates and also the kind of fizzy drinks if you need that, but obviously in small quantities. Everything is good in moderation. So it's really important that, you know, meal planning can actually really help us to find that balance. Are we getting enough carbs? Are we getting enough fruit and veg? Are we getting enough protein, dairy, and the fats, and also the fun foods as well?
Yeah, this is also, so that really builds the relationship with food that then avoids that overeating.
Yeah, and obviously if there are certain emotions and certain thoughts that you have around food that are a bit more entrenched, you're starting to notice that there's certain rules whereby you're probably avoiding going out to the restaurant because you don't really want to eat anything that's unfamiliar, or you don't want to put anything new into your diet, then maybe it's a sign that you're developing a disordered pattern of eating that may need to be kind of looked into a little bit further with a healthcare professional.
Exactly. And this is why for us it's so important to have members of the team like yourself with that background, with that experience, with that knowledge as a psychologist that can actually work with these members to improve that relationship, to understand some of the triggers there, and then build, I guess, a more encompassing program, as opposed to just having that two-dimensional approach, which is follow this diet plan and train harder if you want to feel healthier.
Yeah, absolutely.